Well, I guess in my lifetime I have to turn to Rosa Parks. Part of that is I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama. I was about 5 years old when the Montgomery bus boycott started. And I do remember taking the bus and seeing the buses, which were quite crowded at the time, with the lines in the back of the bus where blacks had to stand or had to give up their seats if a white person got on the bus. Too young to understand everything, but old enough to understand things weren't right. And then overnight, the buses were empty. And how long that bus boycott lasted, and how African American ladies primarily walked, how the community developed their own taxi system, and they started again breaking the chains of racism with that courageous act. And Rosa Parks, I think she said when she was arrested, "My feet are tired, but my soul is restless." Most recently, I'd have to say Isabel Wilkinson. She wrote Caste and the Warmth of Other Suns. And she can tell a story integrated with so much history that you feel like you're living it. And so one book is about the migration of blacks out of the South to the Northeast, the Midwest, and West. And those powerful stories, the communities they fled, what they met on their way to their new communities, and the struggles there, progress, lack of progress. And then Caste, she puts in the context of America's racism and caste system in India, and certainly what went on in a caste in Nazi Germany. And I think the revelations from that book and the way she tells those stories are so compelling that for the time we live in, she's one of my favorites. I'll start with my wife. And my wife started dental school 2 years after me. Her class had 2 women. In all the decades before, maybe there'd been 5 women. She's in a class with 85 men. It's not easy. And I remember at my graduation ceremony, they honored the outstanding sophomore student. And, she's a woman called up on the stage. I don't think we talked until 2 years later. But, when I learned her story, what she had to endure in many ways, she, in a very graceful way, never letting people know that things bothered her. When things bothered her, she sort of doubled down on her determination. And when she graduated from dental school, unlike me, she was number 1 in her class and received the dean's medal. And, knowing her story personally and knowing it shared by so many people, that resilience and grace, the style that she used to succeed, I admired it. Maybe not the way you should have to do things, but the way she did it leaves lessons to me. There were certainly times where she could have made it personal, but she didn't. She remained objective, dispassionate, stood her ground when she had to, in a very quiet but firm way, even on occasions where lines were crossed, took it to the right place to be resolved. Wanted somebody who went through that experience, who maybe had wronged, to come out a better person. And so there are a lot of lessons in that. And then we've been married over 42 years. And she was an administrator when I was an administrator. And I saw how decisive and principled she could be, and to be able to share those experiences and learn from her as I went through them. And then now, she's my coach and mentor. Our daughter is the one that has me reading books like How Everyone Should Be a Feminist and other articles that further awaken me to the times. And she can be quite, let's just say, critical when she reads something that I put out or hears something I said to make me more attuned to these matters. It's part of that I attribute to her parents, but part of it I attribute to her education, which included a degree from the University of Kentucky. The word history is important because embedded in it are lessons. I've shared with one of Kentucky's history lessons out of a marvelous book. And, it's instructive. It explains so much. It gives you a richer context and a deeper level of understanding. I think it strengthens your empathy. None of us can fully know what it means to be in someone else's shoes, but through history. And that's, again, why Isabel Wilkinson, I think, is so important. Isabel Wilkinson makes you feel like you're in the room when it's happening. And I think all those things strengthen your character, strengthen your insights, your empathy, your compassion.